Welcome to my film review of Horrible Histories, the movie, Rotten Romans. Now, first off, this was a movie I had absolutely no intention of going to see at all. I actually thought from the trailer that it looked really pants and quite like cringeworthy. Now, I'm not going to say I felt particularly differently about the attempted humour elements of the movie, but I have to say, on the whole, I really came away quite enjoyed this movie, actually. Yeah, it was okay. I was never going to go and see it, but there's not much out at the moment that I haven't seen, and again, happened to be passing, be rude not to call in. So yeah, I thought I'd check this movie out and at least do a review for everybody, and surprisingly enough, I've quite enjoyed it. So, it appears, I did actually hear the film review guys talking about this, so I do know that this is like a TV series or something, theoretically aimed at children, teaching them history, which is a fantastic idea, but with comedy. So I think that's a great idea as a concept, but for me personally, the type of humour was far too silly, far too stupid, cringeworthy sort of humour. Wasn't quite my cup of tea, but all I can say is, just because it isn't my cup of tea, doesn't mean it isn't good. And it is definitely the case, I would suggest, that if you like the TV series, personally I'd never even heard of it, but if you like the TV series, you should love this movie. I see no reason why the movie shouldn't be seen as a huge hit. It seemed really decent. It was a good movie. So there you go. So this is the crack with the movie. It's teaching people about history and doing it in a tongue-in-cheek, slapstick, silly as you like kind of a way. So I would have suggested that was a good recipe for success, quite frankly, because at the end of the day, learning history can be boring, and this is trying to make it fun, and I think on that regard it works. So this particular movie is about the Romans. Now, we all know about the all-conquering Rome, but how much do you really know about the Roman Empire? I mean, personally, not much. I remember at school, history seemed to always be stuff that I wasn't interested in, like the Aztecs. Who the hell are they? That was years ago. We never really seemed to learn anything that was particularly interesting, but now I'm actually quite interested in history. At the moment, I'm reading the audio book of the Cold War, just to give you an idea of how boring and into history I am. I thought this could potentially be a movie that I'd really enjoy. But the only problem I had when I was watching the movie was, I thought to myself, this is so silly, I can't tell how much of it is genuine history and how much of it is just pure slapstick ridiculousness. But it actually turns out, and this is my tip for you, hang around until the end, because at the end of the movie, a lot of people left, but there was talking still going on. So hang around for a while at the end of the movie. It's only on for 92 minutes, an hour and a half, so it's not like you're asking to be sat there forever, and it tells you kind of what was fact and what wasn't, or the way they put it is what was fact and what was completely and utterly fact, suggesting that basically everything in the movie was factual. So bear that in mind when you watch it. Basically, this is supposed to be completely true, factual representation of everything that happens. So that's really good. You're learning genuine stuff. It's not like based on a true story and you're thinking, well, how much of it is a true story and how much of it is dramatized for the purpose of the movie. This is a movie that all of it is a true story, and they've just added in slapstick humour to make it appeal to kids, I guess. But I guess there'll be adults that enjoy it. So, to give you a flavour of the audience, because like I say, this wasn't my cup of tea humour-wise, when I watched this movie, and I did laugh out loud at the very end. So there was finally one scene right at the end that made me actually physically laugh, and then not long after that I had another little giggle as well. So I came round to it maybe in the end, a little bit like when I watched Peep Show, my favourite comedy. The first episode, I'm watching it cringing like, what the hell is this? This is crazy. Once you understand how the comedy is and the humour element that they present themselves in, you get it. So it was very much the same with this, I reckon. So maybe, you know, if you've seen it before, you might be laughing from day one. Well, the point I was trying to get at is there were people in the audience sat really near to me, front row, that were clearly big fans. They were absolutely laughing all the way through. And the bit that I laughed, they were wetting themselves laughing. So for those fans of the TV series, rest assured there's every reason why you should love this movie, because people in the audience certainly seem to. However, I did notice behind me, I hadn't realised how many people were sat behind me until they all started to flood out, and I didn't hear any chuckling from behind. So I think this is, you know, it's not for everybody in terms, well, it's definitely not for everybody in terms of the humour. The humour's quite frankly absurd, but I knew I wasn't going to find it funny. I didn't go in there expecting to find it funny. I went in there thinking, do you know what? I like my history. I'm interested in history. I'm actually interested to find out what the story is of the Romans. And the only downside was I was confused as to how much of this is ludicrous, made up stuff and how much is true. So just know that it's all supposedly true. And in that regard, you know, I quite enjoyed it. I did. It was a little history lesson. I learned something. Every day's a school day. I always like to learn. And I think I came away from the movie about 20 minutes in. I'm thinking, this is kind of absurd, but I'm not minding it. And by the end of the movie, I came away thinking, the absurd humour stopped bothering me. It didn't bother me, and I actually rather enjoyed the story. The characters you get very into, particularly the two main characters. There's a young girl and a young bloke, and each side of their story is particularly interesting. You warm to the characters and you're kind of rooting for them at the end, and it turns out to be, at the end of the day, really quite a good, enjoyable, well-told story. So yeah, at the end of the day, thumbs up. I thought I was going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. I was thinking to myself halfway through, but I think this has got to get an average 7 out of 10. I can't rule it down below average. You know, 7 out of 10, worth a watch. I don't know if I'm being too generous, actually. You know, okay, no, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It was okay. It was fine. But this is what I would say, and I was thinking this during the movie, and I probably stand by it. I always give tips about getting the best value for money, you know, from your movies. Honestly, I can't say that I would justify spending money to see this at the cinema. I'm a Cineworld holder, so I can go to as many movies as I want for the same fixed fee, excuse me. And therefore, I didn't mind going in there and seeing this for free, but my God, I pay 10 quid to go and see this, even a fiver. If you could go 5 quid, buy one get one free, so you pay £2.50 each, okay. But I can't honestly as much as I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, which seems crazy, I honestly can't recommend paying to see this at the cinema. It's got no cinematography spectacular that makes it worth seeing at the cinema, and you know, it's the kind of movie that I can see why it's a TV show. You know, it felt a little bit like a TV show, and that's fine. That it works as that, but I'm not sure I can justify paying money to see it at the cinema. That's just how I feel about it. So I wouldn't feel guilty if you missed this one and wait for it to come out on DVD and pick it up then. You know, go and see Spider-Man again. I say this all the time. There's lots of good stuff out there. Lion King, for instance. You know, go and see that again. But it looked like the people had great fun making the movie, you know. Oh, God, there was musical stuff. I can't believe I haven't even mentioned this yet. I didn't realise they were going to be singing. It was very musically. It wasn't just singing a song. It was everybody getting in and skipping and dancing together, you know, a musical. And I hate that, really. I'm not into musicals. But do you know what? I didn't find it at all annoying. You know, the music was fine. I could deal with the songs, and some of the songs were okay. The words were pretty good. You know, they were following through, continuing the story with the lyrics of the songs. So that was okay as well. Even the singing didn't bother me. Maybe I'm just in a really good mood today. But yeah, so the singing was a little bit of a oh no sort of thing, but it was okay. It was fine. But I can't recommend the cinema for this one. Wait till you catch it at home. But nevertheless, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because for what it was trying to do, it was trying to tell it was trying to teach you history and make it fun, and therefore it succeeded. It wasn't terrible at it, it wasn't amazing, it was just a nice average 7 out of 10 at doing the job it was trying to do. But that doesn't mean it's a 7 out of 10 cinema spectacular. I'm just rating it on its own for what it was trying to do. But it's not a must-see at the cinema by any means. So yeah, like I say, they had fun making it. It looked like it was a low budget. It looked like a little bit like pantomime scenes. You know, every scene looked like it was the kind of scene that they could have put on stage for a pantomime. But nevertheless, it was okay. It was fine. It was enjoyable. It was pleasant. It was a pleasant afternoon in the cinema. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not a must-see at the cinema. Wait till you know, for those who love it, you're going to love it. If you watch the series, you're going to love this as well. But for anybody else, you don't need to see it at the cinema. So, yeah, there you go. A bit of a upside down, contradictive review, really. But I hope you understand the gist of what I'm trying to get to. I love anything that's educational. So in that regard, it gets a thumbs up from me. But, yeah, it's not a cinema spectacular. I would go and see something else, I think. So I hope you found that review in some way useful. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you on the next review. Goodbye.